All right, we can get started. So welcome to the October virtual user group meeting. Thanks for everyone for joining. I hope everyone's having a great Friday so far. The agenda for today, we'll go over some questions that have come in through our support team. We'll go over the updates and enhancements that have gone into TransIT over the last month. Patty will go through the tip of the month towards the end of the presentation, and then just a review of the TransIT education. So just some of the questions that have popped up. Why do my times upload as 00, semicolon 00 when I upload a plan? It's due to TransIT only accepting times in the format of hour, semicolon, minutes. So you do have to use the 2 digits. So before entering those times into your spreadsheet, you just highlight the start and finish time of the columns, right-click and format the cell, and choose the category time, and type whatever time you'd like in that format. So hour, semicolon, minute, and click OK. And then entering the times into the columns, they'll be stored in the format required to upload to TransIT. I did do some uploading myself during the week, and it did generally upload in the category of general as well, but it's just easy to change it to time, because when you type in a time in Excel, it'll actually put in the semicolon for you. And then entering your dates as normal in Excel. TransIT will reformat them into the year, month, date format as well for you. The next question that came through was in regards to a time delay on email notifications on an issue. So if you make several changes to an issue within a 5-minute period, you're only going to get that initial update for the first change that you make. So let's say you change the assign from person A to person B. The assigned and reporter will get an email notification and now an SMS, which we'll go over in a little bit. And any changes you make after that, they won't get notified until that 5-minute delay has passed. This is just to reduce the number of emails and notification being sent to a user. So we just remind everyone to keep that in mind. If you want to make all your changes, that's fine. But there might be more changes that you want to review when you go into that issue that someone's actually made more than one change. So just keep an eye out for that one. And then in terms of why does my duration column show up in my plan with an asterisk? This is a really good question from Brianna, who's on today. So the duration column, the way it's designed currently, the asterisk indicates that it is a rounded up or to the next level. So I've just given some examples there. So if you type in 60 minutes, it'll show as 1 hour. But if you increase it to 61 minutes, it will show it as 2 hours. So it won't actually show the 61 minutes. It will show the 2 hours with an asterisk, meaning that there's a value between the 61 minutes and the 119 minutes that has been entered. Same thing with days. So if you type 7 days, it'll show 1 week. If you do 7 days and 1 hour, it will show 2 weeks with an asterisk. So the question that we have for everybody, and I'll have to get the poll up so you can think about it, but we're considering an enhancement request in terms of changing the way it's designed in TransIT at the moment inside your plan. So we're wondering the thoughts on everybody, and let me pop up the poll and you can vote on whether or not you would like to keep it the current way with the asterisks and kind of leveling up to the next level, or would you like something more specific to go on? So let me go into the poll. So it should pop up on your screen. Disregard option 3 at the bottom. Give everyone just a little bit of time. So, Patty, it looks like most of the respondents have said that they would like more exact values in the duration column.
And I think Brienne will be happy about that.
Great. So we'll go over some updates. I'm not going to go into too much detail now with the updates, because we will go into a little bit more detail in the next slides. But in general, we've got the view changes icon was restored. So one of the bug fixes we put into TransIT, the icon disappeared, so we restored it for everybody on all pages. And then when restoring content, so for example, from the deleted project, if the name already exists, a date and timestamp will be added into the name automatically. So just to identify when it was restored and that it's a double of something else. Inside the org settings, we now have an email sent to a user when your record is updated. So if you update anything within a user record, it will be updated, and then it will send that user an email. And then the user password reset is included in the system log, which I'll show you in a few minutes. Inside plans, we fixed the hide columns menu. We fixed the hide columns menu that was displaying null values. So when you click the right menu bar at the top, it was displaying null as a text. We fixed the hide and show completed icons. It's now a toggle icon, and I'll go over that in a second. And we also added the ability to renumber plans, which was a big request from a lot of our clients. In terms of modules, and this was another big request from a lot of our clients, and it has to do with creating content and making it a little bit easier. But now once you rename a module, if it's inside a script, it will now rename that module on the modules column on the right-hand side inside your script. So you won't have to update it or delete it and insert the new module to have that module updated inside your script. Inside a script, you now have the ability to renumber your script. So the same as plans. This was a pretty high demand enhancement in terms of renumbering scripts and plans. So we now have that inside of TransIT, and that's live. And now we've fixed inserting a module, and now it defaults the position, facility, and day, as long as that is already entered into your step, or it defaults into what is actually inside the module. So instead of having to click through and change everything, it'll default in now. So it'll save you guys a lot of time when you create your content. On the testing page, we fixed a issue where when you clicked one of the statuses and you entered a test note, it automatically reset the status. So we fixed that issue up. The test download report includes the test notes. So it'll be a separate tab at the bottom when you download your test rounds. And then we also fixed an issue where when you right-clicked and edit a test round, it wasn't showing all the days to edit. It now shows all the days. And then inside the issues, as I mentioned earlier, it now notifies you via text. So I got a few texts last night from Patty, who was doing some work. So I had to, go in and read them and check that they, what they were. So that's another really cool feature that we're excited about as well. I believe that was in TransIT 6 and it's now back in TransIT 7. So in general, the little icon, a little man icon with a tick on every page is the view changes icon. That disappeared in a recent update, and it's now restored inside of TransIT. So you should be able to see that back inside of TransIT when you're scrolling through and having a look. This is the restoring content from a deleted project or an archive project that you've turned back on from your org settings. You can see here, on your work list, save, you've got the reinstated on a certain date and a certain time. The time field may not be the exact time that you have right now. We are looking into that, but it will give you a pretty close summarization of the time that it was activated. So you'll be able to actually see, which one was reinstated and which one wasn't. In terms of your org settings, the system log now shows, when you've updated a user's password. So you can see here, I've updated this user, demo admin, on the 15th. I reset the password, and it says that the login attempts or the sign-in attempts and the logout time is reset. So if you have someone that can't remember their password, or they need a password reset and they've tried to log in a bunch of times and it says they're logged out, as an admin of your site, you can go in and reset their password, and they don't need to wait that time frame to be able to re-log in. So it will automatically reset for that user, and they can log in and continue doing work as soon as you've reset that password, as long as they meet the password requirements that you've sent them, and MFA and bot protection as well. And then under the user record, I mentioned it earlier, if you do make a change, that user gets notified via email that an update has been made to that record. Does anyone have any questions so far before I move on to plans? Great, we'll move on to plans. So as I mentioned before and stumbled a little bit, you can see this right-click option on the blue menu bar. When you click the columns, you can display or hide certain columns. About half of these were null value, where you see late and not started in progress. So we've just made it so that you can actually see which column it correlates to. So it's a little bit cleaner, and those null values are now gone. The hide and unhide completed activities, there used to be two icons at the top right-hand corner where you can see the red boxes. It's now one icon, which is similar to the View Global Modules icon on your modules page. You now select it or unselect it to hide or unhide your completed activities. So the first screenshot you see at the top there, you've got your completed activities visible. And when you click it, the icon turns to that blue or not solid, and then your completed activities are now hidden from your plan as well. And then you can just keep toggling back and forth. So it's a little bit easier than kind of picking which icon to pick, and going back and forth is just the one icon now. Renumbering of plans. This was a big feature that many of our clients wanted. So you can now renumber plans, and it's a very similar process to scripts. And the way you renumber your plans is when you right-click any plan and you edit the plan, you'll see the plan number at the top on your edit page. That used to be a number that you couldn't change or edit, and now you can. So you can see the plan number there on the top right-hand corner is 210. I've gone in and changed it to 209, and the bottom screen here, you can see that there's two 209s that are listed there. So it has been a huge requested feature that we're now pretty proud to put into TransIT. Or back into TransIT, and it's a similar process to scripts as well when we go through scripts in a second. Renaming of modules. So if you right-click and edit your module name, if it's inside a script, so you can see the 188 module, it's inside one script. If I wanted to change that name, or let's say I was creating content and I went back and the module name didn't make sense, or I made a mistake, or I want to change it. Previously, you couldn't update that name and then update the module inside of your script. Now, when you update it on your modules page using the right-click edit module, once you rename it and click save, any scripts that it is a part of, so on the scripts column, so beside the project column, you'll have the scripts column. If it's inside any scripts, it will update the name automatically for you, where previously, if you wanted to have that current module name in your script, you would have to go into each of the scripts, delete that module, insert the new module, but now it does it automatically when you rename your module. So that's another really handy feature for everyone that does content creation. I know for the TransIT team, it's going to be a big help for us as well. Renumbering of scripts. So the same as plans, you would right-click on any script and then edit your test script. Your scenario number is now available to change. So you would click that scenario number, you would pick your number that you wanted to select. And then once you've selected that number, you can see here I've got two 106s. So it's not limited. You can change as many script numbers as you'd like. You do have to do them individually. So the same as plans and scripts, you have to do them individually. There's no select, the first row and then change 20 at a time. You have to do it one at a time. So if you did want to change them, you just have to use that right-click edit test script. Does anyone have any questions on the renumbering process? Fantastic. When you're inserting a module in TransIT 7, the last couple of months, the position, facility, and day wasn't defaulted in. Now when you insert a module, it now defaults in the position, facility, and day according to where you're actually inserting the module into your test script. So I've got the example here, it's day 1, but if we went to day 5 and we wanted to insert a module on day 5, and we were inserting in the correct spot and the position and facility were different to what's on the screen right now, it would default in what is actually in the test script previously on the previous step. So it just makes it a little bit easier to insert a module. Since TransIT 7 went live, you had to go and select your position, then your facility, and then your day. But now it's pre-populated, so it should save a lot of time when you're inserting those modules. Moving on to testing.
I would just add, Travis, that it was more that people who were doing a lot of content building weren't noticing that it wasn't defaulting in the date, so they were saving things and it was putting in the wrong. So it was more going back and correcting afterwards.
Correct, yeah. In terms of testing, I mentioned this earlier. We had a really, it was hard to recreate, but it was a bug where we would click a status icon from the test rounds page or the test dashboard page. And then let's say you click pass and then you put a test note in. Sometimes the status would reset. So it was a little bit of a difficult one to recreate. But now once you click your status column and you make any changes, it will stick in terms of the status that you select. So it wasn't happening all the time, but it was happening on the odd occasion. So we've fixed that. In terms of your test download report, when you use your test download report, you can use it from your test rounds page, or your test dashboard page. On the bottom of your Excel download, you can see I've got it highlighted here. You have a little tab here called Test Notes, and that will download all of your test notes so you can review them all in one spot rather than going in and exporting the test notes in a separate Excel and then copying and pasting them across. We've got it all neatly into the one test download report. Another really interesting bug that we had a few clients that would add one test script to a test round that would have day 0, 1, and 3, and then they would go and add another few test scripts that would have different days, and not all the days would then populate through onto your edit test round page. We've now fixed that bug, so when you add more scripts on, if the day was originally missing, so let's say you didn't have anything on day 4 and you add a test script that has a day 4, it will now add that day to the right-click edit test round option for you to be able to change the dates if you'd like. In terms of issues, as I mentioned earlier, you can now get SMS notifications when the assigned is updated or anything's updated on your issues page. So the assigned and reporter would get the SMS and email. Just keep in mind that, keep in mind that if you don't want those SMSs sent to you and you just want emails, you would go up to your user profile or your user initial in the top right-hand corner and just remove the SMS messages notification option under test rounds, and that will stop those text messages coming through. But we do highly recommend to keep them both on. But if you are getting multiple multiple notifications and you didn't want one or the other, that's how you would update it. Patty, do you want to go through the tip of the month?
Sure. Just in general, people are starting to use plans a lot more. And as we're working with new clients and they're going through and figuring all the other things that they can use plans for, one of my clients recently added a plan for was they were getting ready to do a scheduling project and they were just at the start of it and they were defining the requirements. And I said, well, that's a perfect thing that you can throw into plans. So again, plans are completely configurable. All the columns are completely customizable. And so anything that you're doing in a list that is inconvenient to share through email or whatever as an Excel file that you want to share with end users who may not have access to SharePoint, any of those things you can put into a TransIT plan. So again, this was just a sample one that was created. Another one that is an interesting one to put into TransIT plan is a RACI. So Tamara and I worked on a couple of different versions of RACI, and I don't know if we want to show that, Travis. My PC seems a little bit frozen, but if you go to One MSI Healthcare, there's two different plans there for RACI, just so that people can see. Again, it's just more, love that picture. It's more looking at all the things. So you can see in our demo environment here, this is another good example of how we've categorized all our plans. So what Tamara basically did was she sequenced them so that they're in the order that you would use them. So the work plans are at the top. Well, the very first is testing. So a lot of clients are using TransIT plans for doing checklist type testing. So we had testing at the top, and then it's, from the beginning of your project when you're doing startup and planning or discovery through cutover and operations at the bottom. So first of all, you can make your plans more useful by building useful categories and categorizing them. But then I was going to show the example for the RACI 1 and the RACI 2 here. So this is a example of a RACI, and this is one that's going, so you put your roles down in that first column and then who's assigned to that in the second column. And then you fill out all your major components of the plan from planning through to post go live and closure. So this is sort of one view of it. And then if you go back and look at RACI 2, then you'll see this one is instead where you put the responsibilities at the top and then you actually select the usernames. The only thing about this one, I'll tell you, is that right now, the only field that allows you to multi-select a user is the actual standard assigned field. So we do have another enhancement request that we've already posted to be able to do a multi-user in any of the custom columns, and that would allow you to really take advantage of this. So for example, if you wanted to put the responsibility for developing the detailed project plan as being the client project manager and the vendor project manager, you can only do that with one field right now. And so in this case, it's the support field that has the multi-user. But at any rate, we are all the time coming up with new ideas for plans and just feel like it really is an added benefit to all of you to look into seeing what you can do. We have another client who's been a client for years, and we did some cutovers for them. And when we were running the cutovers, they were using TransIT plans for cutovers. And then now that they've been running their own cutovers, they got away from it. And just heard last week, they're going back to using TransIT plans for cutovers. So that was all I had to add.
It's a good segue into, if you do have any suggestions or ideas or any features or enhancements that that you would like at your site, you can definitely email support@makesolutionsInc.com. We're happy to get together with people with different ideas. We don't know everything, so it's really good to hear from all of our clients on what their requirements are or what they would like to see, so that we can put it into TransIT for everyone to benefit. Does anyone have any questions, comments that they wanted to go over? We've got a couple more minutes. Great. If there's nothing else, then we will end it there, and hopefully everyone has a great rest of your Friday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Travis.